Hey everyone, welcome back. I am Marathon Milio and this is Medal Mondays. So for today's episode, we're going to talk about this medal right over here, which is the White Continent Marathon. This is the one I did in Antarctica back in January. As you can see, the medal is really small. There was some sort of mix-up, so they gave us these small ones, and while we waited for the real ones to come in the mail. If you remember, I did film a really short episode of Medal Monday in Antarctica. I was really excited to do that, but as soon as we started filming, they were telling us to wrap it up because we had to keep going. So I really didn't get to say what I wanted to say, and I had a lot to say, and I guess it's better because now I got my real medal to show you right over here. So this is the medal that we got. This is the continent of Antarctica in the middle, along with some penguins, which is really cool because there really was penguins everywhere. So for this race, this was my first marathon in my one-man 7 continents run journey, and actually the first full marathon I had ran in about 12 or 13 years. It's been a really long time since I had run 26 miles. But I did train really well for it. You know, I did follow my 4.5-month training schedule, like pretty much to the T. And one of my friends was like, "You should, run in the sand," so to kind of help emulate running in the snow. And so I did that as well. So I felt coming into this race, I felt prepared as much as I could be. But I was really worried about the weather, because I live here in San Diego. So, it's not super cold here. It doesn't snow. It's not freezing. So it was the weather that really was freaking me out. But once we arrived in Antarctica, I was fully layered. I had everything you could think of: ski goggles, the baklavas, with, layer upon layer upon layer. And so it turned out that the weather actually wasn't the hardest part of the race. It was actually the course itself. So I was expecting, a lot of snow and ice, but in fact it was more rocks and gravel and dirt and mud. So it was way different. I mean, there was a lot of snow and ice, but it was all around us. The actual course itself, where we were going to run, was all of the other things I just said. So it was not at all what I expected. But on top of that, it was actually more of a trail run as well. I think we were all surprised at how difficult this race was going to be. Because, how do you know what it's like in Antarctica? And I didn't know that it was going to be a lot of just rolling hills. It was a course that we had to do 8 times. So we had to do a loop 8 times, but going this way was up and down, and coming back was up and down. And it was just super random too, because it just seemed like every time you were going up a hill, there was a strong gust of wind that you had to fight against too. And so it was just fucking crazy. It was so hard. And I think everyone would agree that, the race definitely beat us up. I went into the race just wanting to run and finish, just to get this continent out of the way. But I ended up surprising myself. In mile 10, I ended up taking the lead, and so I was in first place. And I kept that first place for about the next 10 miles. So up until mile 20, I started to hit the wall, which is something that I felt, I've had before with some of my past marathons. So I had already kind of prepared myself for hitting the wall. And so once I knew that my body was kind of getting tired, and, my brain was kind of like, "Dude, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?" I was prepared for that. And so I kind of talked myself out of it. Like, okay, this is the wall. You're used to this. You're prepared for this. Just keep going. And so I did. I kept going, but then no. But then my body and my brain, conspired against me, I guess. And so I started getting like a little cramp in my leg, and so I was like, okay, whatever, I'm in first place, I don't care, just keep going. And eventually the cramp started spreading throughout the rest of my leg, and I had to stop and stretch. And as soon as I did that, my entire leg and my other leg just hardened up. So stopping was not a good idea. And then I tried to stretch, and it made it even worse. So then I was like, well, I just got to keep going. But even to start up running again was hard. And so it became really difficult, and I couldn't really run at my normal pace anymore. And so I slipped into second place, and I was really sad about that. But I still felt like maybe I could catch up and get back into first place. But I couldn't. My body started to just really shut down on me. I could continuously stop and stretch and walk and just like mentally put myself back in the game. And then at this point, I slipped into third place. And so now I was kind of really giving up because, my body was shutting down on me, and I was no longer going to win. And really, it was like, what am I doing? Like, my brain was like, dude, what the fuck? Go sit down and, you know, pull yourself together. And my body was listening to my brain, you know, it was shutting down on me. So they were both against me, as I like to say. And, but my heart and my soul were in it, you know. I was in Antarctica, so I was not about to walk, you know, I'd come all this way. So I was in Antarctica, and, you know, people donated their hard-earned money to help get me here. And on top of that, I was in the running to place. So I couldn't stop. I couldn't give up yet. Had I not been in Antarctica, I probably would have. I probably would have stopped and walked the last 4 miles and just been like, dude, whatever's been happening. But I was in the running to place. And again, like, people helped to get me here. So I had to prove it to myself and to them that I can push through this. And I'll tell you what, it was the biggest, hardest battle I've ever had to do with my mind and my body. I mean, I pushed myself beyond limits that I knew I had, and like I said, multiple times I wanted to give up. My brain was telling me to sit the fuck down. It was just so crazy, and I couldn't listen, even though my body was agreeing with my mind. You know, everything was telling me to just stop and walk. But again, my heart and you know, my drive was like, do not do this, you know, do not give up. And so it was crazy. The last couple miles, you know, I can see the guy creeping up behind me. I was in third place still, but I was gonna maybe slip into fourth place, and I just couldn't let that happen. And so, you know, like I said, there was a lot of rocks around. I stopped. I grabbed a pretty good sized rock. I rubbed my legs with it. I rubbed and rubbed and rubbed and rubbed them, and I think that kind of worked or something, because I felt a little bit better. They were a little bit looser, and then I just was able to pick up my pace a little bit more. And so my legs were feeling better, but my brain was still fighting against me. You know, I started having these crazy visions of like these videos I used to see on YouTube of like runners when they see the crossing line, they like their knees buckle, or people like crawling against the finish line. And I thought that was gonna be me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's totally gonna be me. Luckily, I didn't have to do anything crazy like that. I mean, I hobbled my ass across that finish line, but I still did it. And I was lucky enough to take a third place finish after all that. So I was stoked. I got third place. And because of that, I also got this cool little trophy right over here. And it says my name, Emilio Garcia, Marathon Emilio. Third place overall, second place men's. So yes, a girl did beat me. But honestly, she fucking earned that shit, dude. I mean, she killed it. She just flew right by me, mile 22, mile 23, and she was gone. So congratulations, she earned it for sure. After the race, it was crazy because after the race, you know, you are a little sweaty, even though you're in Antarctica, I was still sweating. And so we go into this tent where they give you all these hot liquids to kind of help warm you up. But you don't think about how you're sweating, so your cold shirts and everything start to kind of freeze immediately. So I, was trying to drink my hot soup, but I couldn't even hold my cup. I was shaking so much, it was like spilling all over the place. And so they're like, you need to go change. And I'm like, no, I'm cold, I want this. But I couldn't hold it, and like I said, it's spilling everywhere. They took it out of my hands. They're like, go change. And I was like, okay. So I went and I changed, and that took forever because I was super sore and could barely move. And then after the race, eventually I took some beers on the plane to Antarctica. So a few of us had some drinks. Somebody else took some whiskey, so we reviewed whiskey. That was definitely warm us up. One of my buddies gave me a weed gummy, so towards the end of the night, I definitely ate that and got a little high in Antarctica, which was awesome. Cool thing about Antarctica is that the sun doesn't set there till midnight, and then it rises again at 3 a.m. So there was never a part of the night where it was completely dark. It was kind of crazy. But it was just an awesome, amazing time. I met some amazing people. I'm so grateful for all of you who helped donate to get me there, and for everyone's words of encouragement. I am stoked that I did it, my first marathon in 13 years, and it was an amazing, amazing experience. So a couple days after that, I did another marathon in Punta Arenas, Chile, but we will talk about that next week because this episode is definitely getting a little long. So thank you so much again, everyone, for your support and for listening and for watching and just for your words of encouragement. I super appreciate it. I will see you next week when we talk about the Punta Arenas Marathon. Thank you so much, and I will see you later. Happy Monday.